The Sunderland-based Cowie Group, one of Britain's biggest automotive distributors, has increased its half-yearly pre-tax profits by 28% against the trend in a depressed motor industry. Profits are up from just over 6 million to 7.75 million. Cowies say that part of the success was due to a huge order for 40,000 cars from rental company Hertz. The £400 million contract is the biggest ever awarded to a UK distributor. Objectors have welcomed plans for a public inquiry to be held into proposals to drill for oil and natural gas near the Roman Wall at Stagshaw near Corbridge. The Environment Secretary, Michael Heseltine, who's been examining the proposals for a 6,000-foot borehole, has now told Northumberland County Council and other groups that the issue will be decided at a public inquiry. English heritage and conservation and environmental groups claim that the drilling would destroy the landscape near the wall, which is classed as a World Heritage Site.
Police are searching for two teenage girls missing from East Cleveland. The first alert concerns 14-year-old Tracy Newton, who disappeared from Redcar 2 weeks ago. She's 5 feet 8 inches tall and slim with blonde shoulder-length bobbed hair. Then, 9 days ago, 16-year-old Louise Gibson went missing from her home in Gisborough. She has blonde permed shoulder-length hair, blue eyes and is 5 feet 4 inches tall. The incidents are not connected, but police say they're concerned for the safety of both girls.
Cleveland firemen had a special call to North Tees Hospital this afternoon to hand over some money. They'd raised more than £5,000 by running up and down the 3 peaks of Ben Nevis, Scarfell Pike and Snowdon in less than 19 hours, half of the time driving between the mountains. The money will go to the Special Care Baby Unit. The Pallion Yard on the River Wear, which closed 3 years ago, is tonight under new ownership. At a historic signing ceremony, British shipbuilders officially handed the yard over to Pallion Engineering, which is a consortium involving the private sector and former Sunderland shipyard workers. They'll reopen it as a steel fabrication yard working for the oil and gas industries. It's hoped that the project will create 700 much-needed jobs on Wearside.
At the Pallion Yard in Sunderland, months of negotiations were successfully concluded today in the signing of a purchase agreement. Pallion Engineering, the new owner, is a partnership between an Anglo-Greek consortium from the private sector, Charterwell Maritime and Transman Shipping, and a local consortium. The Church Commissioners and the Municipal and General Boilermakers Union have underwritten part of the 25% share issue owned by the local consortium. It guarantees that 25% of share ownership in Pallion Engineering stays in the hands of its workers. Many of them will be former British shipbuilder employees. The deal follows 3 years of campaigning to keep the yard open. And among those campaigners, Bob Clay, Sunderland North MP, who described his feelings today.
A mixture of tremendous joy that really what has been a dream for 3 years has finally happened. And obviously mixed with tremendous relief after all the obstacles that we've had to overcome, that it has finally happened.
What does today's sale mean for former shipyard workers here on the Wear?
Well, I hope it will give them great hope and confidence in the future, because I think everyone who worked in these yards before they were closed for shipbuilding felt that they were superb facilities and great places to work in. And so there is now the possibility that over the years, several hundred of them will be able to come back and work here.
How soon do you expect to start cutting steel at the yard?
That's a difficult question. Depends when we get our first order. I couldn't see that being any earlier than 4 months from now, but I would hope to be disappointed in that prediction. The thing is that we have been marketing the yard and we have solicited a fairly high degree of interest from various parties in Pallion Engineering, and we hope we'll be able to turn that interest into a mutually agreeable contract arrangement with these parties.
Pallion Engineering is to start recruiting technical staff immediately. In the next 4 years, they hope to build up a 700-strong workforce.
And now parents beware, because trading standards officers have found dangerous novelties on sale in shops in North Yorkshire. Described as drinking birds and love meters, the novelties consist of glass bulbs with tubular stems. Inside, there's a brightly coloured liquid which the officers fear could be lethal if it's swallowed by a child. Leslie Carr has been investigating and prepared this report.
Both the novelties work on the principle that they contain a liquid with a very low boiling point. The love meter, for example, is supposed to indicate how passionate you are. A harmless enough toy, you might well think.
Harmless, except that, of course, first of all, it contains a very brightly coloured liquid, very attractive to young children. The glass is very, very thin. If it breaks and a young child gets hold of it, unfortunately, the liquid is a very dangerous chemical called methanol. It's toxic, it's flammable. A very small amount could cause serious injury to a young child. It's just the sort of thing a young child would pick up and start playing with. Under certain circumstances, we're advised it could actually be lethal. Now, we would hope that it wouldn't get that far, but it's not the sort of chemical that should really be used outside of a laboratory. It's not the sort of thing to have in your home. What we're saying to people really is, if you've got one of these, then for goodness sake, either dispose of it safely or take it to one of North Yorkshire's trading standards officers, and we'll dispose of it quite safely for you.
Trading standards know that at least 2,500 of these dangerous novelties have come into North Yorkshire alone, and they expect they'll be turning up in shops throughout the region.
So you know what to do with your love meters if you find one. Well, today should have been market day in the Northumberland town of Morpeth, just as it has been every previous Wednesday for generations. But angry traders blocked off the marketplace, bringing virtually everything to a halt. The action was in response to proposed new market rents, and the traders threatened to boycott Morpeth altogether rather than to pay them. Here's Kevin Rowntree.
It should have been the usual jam-packed, jostling street market. Instead, just a handful of stalls were in business instead of the usual 60-odd. Angry traders grouped on corners. Cars and vans blockaded the market square. And all because of this. A new contract the traders refused to sign, virtually doubling the weekly rent.
We're self-employed people working on a market where we want to make the decision whether we go to work or not go to work ourselves. To actually have to sign a contract which could be binding us for 12 months, especially at the absorbent rents they're wanting to charge, the traders just were no way going to do it.
What kind of rents are they talking about?
The new rent will go from £14 to £27.40. We do have to build our own stands up. We've got to provide our own counters and our own canopies. It's a lot of money compared to the markets in the northeast.
Today, stallholders with fruit and veg were trading as usual in case the stock went rotten.
Self-employed people can't go on strike.
Some drapers and haberdashers were also in business, but breaking the embargo for a different reason.
These ones that's on strike don't pay my mortgage and they don't feed my children. We've come here for 20 years.
More frightened to lose the stall than anything, you know. We don't know what could happen.
We tried to get a statement from the new landlords, Grey Sim Holdings of Chalfont St Giles in Buckinghamshire, but their man on the spot in Morpeth seemed lost for words.
Do you want to talk to me?
No.
Is there nothing you can say about this?
Not at the moment.
Isn't it a bit sort of stupid to bring the whole thing to a halt and then not want to talk about it to anyone?
We didn't bring it to a halt.
Well, your increases in rental charges seem to have brought it to a halt.
I'm not prepared to talk about it.
Meanwhile, back on the market square, the traders stepped up the pressure.
What I will do, I will go to two different markets. I'll go to Spook Market, which is on a Tuesday, for £19. I can have the same footage as I've got now. I'll go to Spook Market on a Thursday, which is £19, for the same footage again. My rent here is going up from £21.30 to nearly £40.
The people of Scarborough are in mourning following the death of the resort's favourite adopted son. Max Jaffa, the violinist, died last night at the age of 79. For decades, Max Jaffa played to packed audiences at Scarborough's Spa Grand Theatre, where he became known as the King of the Palm Court.
Max Jaffa used to call his audience middle-of-the-road, lovely, straightforward people. Today they gathered as they have for decades to hear the sort of music he made his very own. Every night for 27 years during the summer season and weather permitting, Max played his violin in the Palm Court. He delighted his audiences with his special blend of music, which ranged from Beethoven to songs from the shows. Born in London, the son of a Jewish refugee, Scarborough soon became his second home. But it all ended on a sour note in 1986, when the council decided not to renew his contract, despite a petition from his fans. He was, however, granted the freedom of the borough. The powers that be decided that his show was becoming too dated and appointed a new musical director.
He was obviously very, very successful here, and He followed a format of palm court music for his concerts, and his following was built around that. When I came, my brief was to expand the content of the music at the Spa and to bring it more in line with current light music, as, for example, BBC Radio 2 orchestras and so on. And there was some resistance to that, quite understandably so, from people who had been used to a different sort of music, or all one kind of music.
Vincent Barrington accompanied Max Jaffa on the piano for 12 years and travelled the world with him. He remembers quite clearly that final performance.
That was absolutely unforgettable. 40 violinists came for no payment at all. They just appeared from nowhere, and I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. It was a memorable occasion. I think Max's success lied in the fact that he bridged the gap between light music. He brought good music to the ordinary person, and he had tremendous charm. He had a sense of humour, which was obvious to all. He loved his audience, and of course they loved him.
I came after the war with my aunts, and we've continued to come through the Jaffa era.
Sad day for you?
Very sad indeed. We've cancelled, we had other arrangements, so we came down here for the morning concert for the memory of Max Jaffa.
I think he played music which was suitable for most people. It was a lovely orchestra. I think it was one of the finest orchestras in this part of the country.
I feel that the flags of Scarborough should be flying at half-mast today, because he did wonders for the town. And I've spoken to people when I've been on the other side of the world, and they've mentioned Scarborough, England, and Max Jaffa in the same breath.
He, in fact, enabled this orchestra to survive when every other peer orchestra in the country, and we're talking about over 100, actually collapsed and failed. This was the sole surviving one, and that's what Max did for Scarborough, and he established this as the most prestigious and certainly the most renowned seaside orchestra in this country, and that memory and Max will live on forever.
Max Jaffa brought plenty.
Approach November the 5th, shopkeepers are being warned that they face prosecution if they sell fireworks to children this year. Trading standards officers in North Yorkshire are taking a particularly tough line with a controversial method of catching those who flout the law.
Some people get a kick messing about with fireworks.
They will if I catch them.
So don't mess about with fireworks.
Or I'll make a mess out of you.
Follow the fireworks code.
By order of the management.
Each year, the government spends thousands of pounds on TV ads warning about the dangers bonfire night and fireworks can bring. But all that good work can be quickly undone by those who sell fireworks to youngsters. At the moment, the law states that no one under the age of 16 should be sold fireworks. But trading standards officers here in North Yorkshire believe that many shopkeepers simply ignore that rule.
There are over 800 reported accidents caused by fireworks, mainly before bonfire night, and we think the figure is in actual fact higher than that. So a contributory factor must be the sale of fireworks to children under 16. We take the situation very seriously indeed.
What can be done? What are the penalties?
Selling fireworks to children under 16, the penalty is £2,000 per offence, and we should be taking a very hard line this year on anybody who does so.
North Yorkshire Trading Standards officers employ some very controversial tactics to catch rogue shopkeepers.
What we do, in fact, is we send an officer incognito into the premises in advance of a child, who's always a child of the officer, an officer of the department. That child then goes in and goes at the counter and asks for some fireworks. If the fireworks are sold to them, then the officer takes over. If the fireworks are not sold, then fair enough, and they both leave.
Some people would say that's a bit unfair.
It's the only way that we can see where we can effectively enforce the law, and effectively enforce the law is what we intend to do.
Despite the continuing problems, both shopkeepers and trading standards officers see no need to ban the sale of fireworks altogether.
No, ban the sale of bangers. They're the things that cause the problems, are the bangers. Ban the sale of bangers and your problem's solved.
At the end of the day, isn't the only solution a complete ban of selling fireworks in shops and say, right, if you want to see fireworks, you've got to organise displays?
Well, that's an extreme situation. Certainly, for the start, we would like to see the period at which fireworks are sold reduced by shops from 3 weeks to 2 weeks, and no bangers being allowed to sell separately. We think that would be a good start, and of course if that doesn't work, then your solution may be the ultimate.
Well, it's time for our Friday sporting roundup now, and politics plays a major role in tonight's horse racing slot.
Yes, the future of Newcastle's Gosforth Park is in